Hey, Cypher here. There's an obscure agreement from decades ago that strangles American businesses and agriculture. In 1922, then Commerce Secretary Herbert Hoover orchestrated the Colorado River Compact, which governs how much fresh water all the southwestern states and Wyoming may draw from that drainage basin, a region of vast deserts, desolate mountain ranges, and arid to semi-arid climates afflicted by scorching heat. A League of the Southwest from 1917 had already been regulating the river for a few constituent states, but only through an ad hoc agreement. The compact was essentially a federal mandate, as part of its reclamation authority. It was negotiated with only extant usage considered, but a lot has changed over a century, and I just briefly want to talk about why that matters. The Colorado simply doesn't flow as much as back in the Roaring '20s. The Hoover Dam, which began construction in 1932, created Lake Mead, which regulates the provided amounts of water. The level of the lake is literally the regulation. The dam was originally going to be in Boulder Canyon, as per Hoover's engineering, but Black Canyon was a better site, which Congress agreed in 1928, authorizing its construction. President Roosevelt disliked that the dam was named for its chief promoter and his former opponent, so his administration mistakenly called it Boulder Dam out of spite, which you will still hear today. The lake is named for the Bureau of Reclamation's commissioner, Elwood Mead. Other dams were quickly built during the New Deal, but Lake Mead's level is the ultimate regulator of the entire river. The upper basin ends at Lee's Ferry, named after one of the major perpetrators of the Mountain Meadows Massacre, which I do have an episode on that coming soon enough. But that's a really artificial division. Why not Lake Mead or the Grand Canyon? It's because that's roughly the middle point of the river, so they just divide water usage in half right there for no other reason than it's just the midpoint. States pulling from the upper basin are largely satisfied with the arrangement because they are able to get far more than they need in those areas. And since this was back in 1922, it favors California and to a lesser extent Arizona. There's a common myth that Las Vegas has sucked the lake dry, and that's why the levels keep going down, but that is much more indicative of Phoenix and SoCal's overuse, especially since the amount that Nevada receives from the lower basin is only 4% and none from the upper basin. If you wonder why Lake Mead is so low, you have California and Arizona to blame for that, not Nevada. And for the ignoramuses who say that we shouldn't build cities in the desert, I'll just wave my hand vaguely at the Fertile Crescent, Egypt, the Indus Valley, the rest of the Southwest. Like, nobody says that about Phoenix. And the fact that Las Vegas literally means the meadows. Theoretically, if we throttled wasteful agricultural usage that is less suitable for arid environments, then there's actually plenty in the Colorado Basin. But adhering to the 1922 arrangement requires artificial scarcity. Since 2000, there's been regular shortages on the river that require lesser allotments, but the compact favors California first with each instance of that lowering, so people in SoCal don't really realize how much they're drawing from Lake Mead. Other dams along the river operate as reservoirs and energy creation that follows the compact, and Lake Mead remains the leveling requirement. This led to Arizona creating their own landlocked navy in 1934 to halt construction of the Parker Dam, which created Lake Havasu. That navy was headed by Nellie T. Bush, the first female admiral in American history. They stopped construction for a bit and even invaded California. But all that silliness went nowhere. California has a pumping station there now and an aqueduct that goes all the way to Los Angeles, 242 miles away, which was completed in 1939. Yeah, they basically built another river across the Mojave. Arizona wouldn't even sign the compact until late in World War II. Even though it benefits them pretty well, at least compared to the rest of the Southwest. There have been 10 Supreme Court cases with just that one dispute, and dozens more surrounding other parts of the compact. For instance, several tribes have sued in order to get some water rights for their own reservation, since they're indigenous and therefore have indigenous rights, some of which are even guaranteed by treaty. The Las Vegas Valley is one of the most water-efficient cities on Earth because it is so anachronistically limited by this agreement. Much Imperial Valley agriculture will wither away if usage isn't curtailed. And Mexico hardly receives a trickle of the once mighty Colorado. It has that name because of the reddish color of the water due to the immense amount of sediment that mixed in from the rapid flow. The compact was for total discharge with no regard to Mexico. A 1944 treaty promised a certain amount, though that steadily became heavily salinated, and Mexicans use every drop that's left. In 2012, there was an agreement for a certain portion to make it south of the border, but it did not modify the compact itself, further exacerbating the river. Just to add insult to injury, right before that 1944 treaty, a New Deal project diverted the Colorado into another aqueduct, which goes across the desert and runs along the border, called the All-American Canal. We are reaching the limits of possible growth, compounded by global warming, drought, and aquifer depletion, all of which is only worsened by this archaic agreement. But because California refuses to renegotiate the Colorado River Compact, as well as the upper basin states being somewhat apathetic, the rest of the Southwest must circumvent it with pioneering hydrological solutions, something that has helped drive innovation everywhere and provide more affordable clean water for regions stricken with inadequate access to such a necessity of life. If they don't, the fragile compact fails and usage devolves into self-interested, complete drainage, which will desiccate the entire Southwest. This is the most economically productive region in the most economically productive country on Earth. Some of the big cities in it are Salt Lake City, Phoenix, Tucson, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County, Riverside. Some of that water even gets diverted to further regions, like here in Albuquerque, where some of the flow gets diverted into the Rio Grande, which ends up going all the way to Texas. If the compact collapses, so does the United States. It would be an apocalypse. Without renegotiation, states rely on innovation to conserve or recycle water. For instance, the Southern Nevada Water Authority operates several outstanding treatment plants that renew wastewater and subsidize drought-resistant solutions. They have even contemplated paying California for desalination plants in return for more of an allotment from the compact.
Reality check! Vegas is enforcing waterways big time!
Looking at some of these SNWA commercials, I forgot how violent they were.
Hands!
Much of the world faces such problems, but there are organizations working to use such solutions and many more to provide freshwater access throughout the globe. And that's where Team Water comes in. We are working with the charity WaterAid to provide hydro resources for communities around the world. By going to the link in the description below, you can donate and help defeat water scarcity. Theoretically, we could save thousands of lives, helping those who face a lack of this absolutely necessary resource. So please consider joining the campaign to help. I hope you learned a bit about the greater meaning of the Colorado River Compact, and were motivated to donate. Thanks for watching. By decree of King Richard I, you must donate. Go help save people from water scarcity, says King Richard I. And they're right. He's like, I'll just deal with this for the time being. Come here. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. You're a good boy. Didn't have much time to put this all together, so cheers.